Christmas Eve is supposed to be cozy. Warm lights, carols, the smell of cookies. But that night, everything changed. I thought I was alone in my cabin. I was wrong. So very wrong. I had rented a small, isolated cabin in the mountains for Christmas. Snow falling outside, a fireplace roaring, the perfect escape from the city chaos. Everything was perfect. I'd finished decorating the little tree, hung stockings, and poured myself a cup of hot cocoa. The roads had emptied, neighbors far away, pure peace. I was expecting to be completely alone. But around 7 p.m., a soft knock came at the door. I frowned. Nobody else was supposed to be here. A man, soaked from the snow, stood there, claiming his car had skidded off the road. He was polite, charming, and clearly cold. I debated letting him in, but it was Christmas, and the roads were dangerous. I handed him a blanket and offered cocoa. He accepted, smiling, but there was something about him that made my stomach tighten. Hours passed. The snowstorm outside intensified. The man didn't talk much, just sat, watching the fire, quietly sipping cocoa. Around 10 p.m., I realized something strange. The front door wasn't locked. I swore I had locked it after letting him in. I laughed nervously, telling myself I must be imagining things. But then I noticed footprints in the snow, inside the cabin. Not just the man's, mine too, but a third set. Smaller, almost childlike, leading from the door toward the kitchen. I froze. My guest was sitting on the couch. He smiled. "What's wrong?" I told him, voice shaking about the footprints. He leaned back, eyes cold, and said nothing. Suddenly the fireplace flickered. Shadows danced across the walls. I glanced toward the kitchen. The third set of footprints hadn't moved, but now I could swear. There was a small handprint pressed into the snow outside the window. Panic rose. I told him he had to leave, now. He didn't move. Instead, he leaned forward, whispering, "You shouldn't be alone tonight." I grabbed my phone. No signal. The fire suddenly dimmed, and cold air rushed through the cabin as if the doors had been thrown open by invisible hands. I bolted for the door, tripping over a rug. Behind me, I heard it. The soft, deliberate crunch of boots on snow inside the cabin. I stumbled outside, snow up to my knees. The man followed calmly, silent, and then vanished. Just disappeared into the storm. I ran down the road screaming, hoping someone would see me. Finally, a car appeared. The driver gave me a terrified look and said, "There's been no cabin on this road for years. That place burned down last Christmas." My mind went blank. The snowstorm roared around me, white and endless. I never went back, and every Christmas since. When the wind howls through the pines, I hear someone knocking. I tried rationalizing it. Stress, isolation, too much eggnog. But I still remember the footprints, the whisper, and the sense of calm menace from the man. I never returned to that mountain, and I've never forgotten the snowed-in stranger. That night I realized Christmas doesn't always bring joy. Sometimes it brings fear. And the snow? It hides secrets you'll never want to find. Christmas should be the happiest time of the year, but some nights, joy turns into fear. I never thought a group of carolers could make my heart pound with terror until I heard their voices outside my window. It was December 23rd, and I had spent the evening decorating my suburban home. Twinkling lights framed every window, and the smell of fresh pine filled the living room. I was alone that night, my family visiting out of town. Peaceful, perfect, Around 9 p.m., I heard faint singing, soft, melodic, almost angelic. I smiled, probably carolers wandering the neighborhood. I grabbed a cup of cocoa and moved to the window to watch. But what I saw didn't make sense. 3 figures were standing silently in the snow, their faces hidden beneath hoods. They didn't sing, not a single word. Just stared. I laughed nervously, telling myself I must be imagining things. Maybe they were shy carolers or teenagers playing a prank. I closed the curtains, but the singing continued, louder, and somehow, inside the house, I froze. My living room door was locked, every window latched. How could the sound move from outside to inside? I tiptoed toward the door, heart hammering. The air felt heavier, colder. My breath fogged in the dim light. Then, a soft tap on the front window. Slow, deliberate. I turned. No one there, just footprints in the snow. Leading from the yard toward my porch, stopping just short of the door. I dialed 911, whispering. The line went dead. My phone showed no signal. I crept to the living room. The music box I had set on the shelf, playing Christmas carols, had stopped. In its place was silence. Then the singing returned, closer. Footsteps on the porch. I grabbed the kitchen knife, trembling. "We see you." The whisper wasn't from outside. It was in my ear, or at least it felt like it. I spun around. The 3 figures were suddenly in the yard, just standing, watching, smiling beneath their hoods. I ran to the back door, locked, tried the windows, locked. The lights flickered, then went out entirely. The singing became deafening, echoing through every room. I ran upstairs, banging on my neighbor's door, hoping they'd hear me. Silence. Only the snowstorm outside, and the relentless carolers, moving slowly, almost floating toward the house. I bolted out the front door, the cold biting my skin. When I looked back, the figures were gone. Just empty yard, untouched snow, and a faint echo of their melody. The next day, neighbors claimed no one had been out caroling. No footprints in the snow, no figures, nothing. I tried rationalizing it, but every Christmas since, I hear faint singing. Soft, behind the walls, just outside my window. Sometimes I see shadows moving in the snow, always at the same time of night. I never spend Christmas Eve alone anymore. The scariest carolers aren't singing. They're watching, waiting, and maybe they've already marked the next house. I always loved Christmas surprises, but this year, a single gift turned my holiday into a nightmare. Some presents should never be opened. It was Christmas morning, and I was alone at home. My family had left early for a trip, and I found a small, unmarked package on my porch. No card, no return address. Curious, I brought it inside. The box was wrapped in plain brown paper with a single red ribbon. My instincts screamed not to open it, but excitement got the better of me. Inside was a small, antique doll. Its eyes were glassy, unnervingly realistic. I laughed nervously, thinking it was some prank or a misplaced gift. As I placed the doll on my mantel, I noticed something strange. The eyes seemed to follow me. I shook my head. It's a doll, not a person. Hours later, while preparing lunch, I turned toward the living room, and the doll was facing me differently. Not the same angle as before. I moved it back. 5 minutes later, it had turned again. I tried leaving the room. Footsteps echoed behind me. No one was there. The doll remained where I left it, except now its head was tilted slightly, almost as if observing me. By evening, the power went out. Candlelight flickered. Shadows danced across the walls. Then came a soft giggle. Not from me, not from the street, but inside the house. I ran to the doll. Its mouth had moved, a tiny smile, subtle but unmistakable. I backed away, tripping over a rug. The giggle grew louder, echoing around the room, following me. The doll's eyes now glimmered with a red reflection in the candlelight. I grabbed my phone, trying to call the police. No signal. The doll sat on the mantel, perfectly still. Then, in the reflection of the window, I saw it moving, slowly, creeping toward the hallway. I screamed and threw the doll into the fireplace. The fire roared, the ribbon burning. But when the smoke cleared, the doll was sitting on the mantel, eyes still fixed on me, smiling. I ran outside, leaving the house locked behind me. The next day, neighbors claimed no packages had been delivered, no footprints except mine. I never returned to that house alone. Every Christmas since, if I leave a package on the porch, I check the windows, and sometimes, just sometimes, I feel a pair of eyes watching me from inside, waiting for the right moment to move. Some gifts should never be opened. Some presents are never just toys. And sometimes, the thing that watches is closer than you think. This Christmas, it might be watching you.